Welcome back to Ask the Experts, brought to you by Custom Comfort Cooling and Heating. Now back to your host, Steve O.
And we are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're with you every Wednesday from 9 to 10, and we are getting ready to add another hour to our show. We will be with you now starting next month for 2 hours. We're adding our home improvement end of Ask the Experts from 10 to 11 due to all your emails that we've got that we had coming in. This next show, I got to tell you that it is without a doubt becoming our number one show of all the experts we do, based on the emails and the texts that we get. Just overwhelming. Our next expert is with us every week at 9:30. It's Sunbelt Business Brokers. And I have got to tell you, I am so impressed by them. You can see the way they have put this show together, that they do everything possible to make things right. And when you're looking for a business broker, you want to make sure that they don't miss any of the details. Today we're going to be talking about selling a construction business, and we are lucky to have the owner of the Sunbelt Business Brokers for the Atlanta area, Doreen Morgan. Good morning, Doreen.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I got to tell you, I love doing the show with your company. You have got it broken down each week by the area of business, and it makes it, first of all, the show goes by so fast, but today, and you are an expert in this area, construction industry, selling a business in the construction industry. But before we get that, Doreen, tell people, because your story is so incredible, tell people about your company and about your business.
Okay, well, Sunbelt Atlanta has been in business here in the Atlanta market for 24 years, and we sell companies of all sizes. We do Main Street and lower middle market. Probably 50% of the companies we sell are Main Street, which will be your smaller businesses, anything you would see on Main Street. So it would be hardware stores, restaurants, hair salon. We do a lot of business service industries, so there'll be medical practices, landscape companies, and then we do lower middle market companies, which a lot of what we do in the construction space falls into kind of the lower middle market space. And there are 7 of us, and we all have our industry expertise. I've been in the business for 18 years. I started with Sunbelt in 2004, actually. Before that, I sold franchise concepts, but started with Sunbelt in 2004 as a Main Street business broker, then went with a boutique M&A firm here in the Southeast, and then to an international investment bank. And when the founding franchisee of Sunbelt Atlanta was ready to retire, I came back in and bought him out, and have owned the company for the past 7 years. So it kind of came full circle from, starting at Sunbelt to going to a boutique M&A firm to an investment bank, and then came back to Sunbelt. So just love the industry, love what I do. All of us at Sunbelt Atlanta just are, committed to small business. All of us have owned businesses, have owned companies. So we've sat where the sellers sit. My firm only represents sell side. We don't represent buy side at all. Just sellers. That's what we are dedicated to, and that is what we do.
I got to tell you, because we offer the Ask the Expert shows in a lot of different markets, and we have other business brokers in other markets. But Doreen, the way you handle your business with having experts in different fields, Normally, I don't see that. I see maybe one or two people handling everything, but you've got it broken down to where you have experts. I mean, we had a restaurant expert in, we had an insurance expert in, and I just think that is that is the best way as a business broker that you offer to people.
Yeah, yeah, and we've got industry experts, but at the same time we work very much as a team, and we have analysts, and we've got an office manager, and we have book writers. You get a team when you're working with us, which is important. Usually, you only sell your business once, and buyers are going to have a team of experts, and you need a team of experts alongside you as well.
Yeah, I have to, before we get into the show, I have to tell people that I too was a business owner about 15 years ago. And I got to tell you, I thought I knew everything, and I tried to sell my business myself. And it was very frustrating because, um, I would get phone calls all day long, and my employees would hear this. And of course, they would get nervous. And I had a lot of tire kickers calling. And I got to tell you, it was the worst experience of my life until a friend of mine said, you've got to get a business broker to handle this. It was the best, though it took me way too long to make that decision. It was the best decision, Dorian, I have ever made. Everything, you take care of everything. You took all the kind of the burden, the load off my shoulders for what you do. And I just hats off to you for your business.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah. Selling your business yourself is tough. The number one thing is if you're selling your business yourself, confidentiality is out the window.
Yes.
And when you're selling your company, it's really important to keep it confidential. You don't want your customers, your vendors, or your employees to know that your business is for sale until it's sold. And using an intermediary, you keep the sale completely confidential. No one knows that it's your business for sale until they've signed non-disclosure agreements. We've gotten their financials. We have resumes. We know that they're qualified financially and from an experience standpoint, and they've got a signed NDA for your business specifically before we ever disclose anything to them. And then through the due diligence process, we know when to release what kind of information. We don't release everything to buyers all at once. We go through due diligence in stages, and when we get through, if it's financing, for example, we want to know that financing is approved, most of the contingencies have been met, and then we release, some of the more sensitive information. So we really know how to manage the process so that it is smooth and seamless on your part, all the way through to the closing table. We handle everything soup to nuts.
I know in my case, your business is like your baby. You nurtured it, you brought it up, you went through the hard times, went through the good times, and I just thought my business was worth so much more than it really actually was. And when the business broker really got into the business, the money side of it, there was no way I was going to sell my business what I thought it was worth. I was actually brought down to reality, which really helped a lot too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes people think their business is worth a lot more than it is, but then sometimes we'll sit down with people and go through an opinion of value, and they can't believe their business is worth that much. So,
right.
So it's interesting.
Yes. Well, I want to get in today because, COVID is still on everybody's mind. What kind of impact did COVID have on the construction industry in general?
In general, the construction industry, held very stable. There was a lot of demand for home improvement. larger heavy construction companies did well. A lot of companies saw a big jump, things like pool construction companies, hardscape companies, deck builders, saw a big jump, as well as heavy construction, road, water, sewer construction, paving companies, earth moving companies, drilling companies. They did really well as long as they were able to keep their crews healthy and working. They did really well because there was no traffic on the road. So, for example, a pipe layer, water and sewer pipe, for example, instead of laying 60 feet a day, they could lay 100 feet a day because the traffic wasn't near as big a problem. And then, into 2021, demand was still there. But if you look at the 2-year average, 2020 and 2021, they some still saw big increases, but they kind of evened out to 2019 numbers, and demand was still there. And I think that a lot of companies could have continued to do well, but with the extended stimulus package that Joe Biden rolled out, that dampened things a little bit because demand was there and the workers weren't, and that didn't only affect the construction industry. Unfortunately, that was probably one of the worst things to happen to small business in quite some time, and that's recovering now too. So the future looks good for construction here in the next few years.
Well, there's different sectors in the construction industry. Is there any sectors that fare better than the others?
The heavy construction and infrastructure companies did overall really well, and again, it's because they were essential companies, and so they kept working. They were allowed to work right from the beginning. There was no shutdown at all, and there were no traffic on the roads. So bridges, highway, electrical, water, sewer, they all did really well, provided their crews stayed healthy. And then some home improvement companies, hardware stores, building supply, construction supply, they all did really well. But a lot of home improvement companies where it was kind of iffy, a lot of the home improvement companies, people didn't want them in their home at the beginning of the pandemic. They weren't, and a lot of them weren't considered essential. So, they lost, 2 or 3 months at the beginning of the recession. They came out of it okay, but because there were sectors, remodeling companies, that, anybody that touched the inside of a house, lost a couple months there anyway, because people were unsure, they didn't know what to do, and they didn't want anybody in their homes. So they didn't fare as well as the outdoor construction sector.
Doreen, when you have a great show like this right here, it goes by so fast. It's already time for our first commercial. We're here talking with Doreen Morgan, Sunbelt Business Brokers of Atlanta. Doreen, give everybody your phone number.
Our phone number is 70936-9099.
Well, we're talking today about buying a construction business, the construction industry. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we have more with Doreen Morgan. We'll be right back.
At Sunbelt Atlanta, their team is made up of seasoned professionals with more than 70 years of collective experience selling companies. Their backgrounds and industry experience are as varied as the companies they represent. Some come from Main Street, some come from Wall Street. Collectively, Sunbelt Atlanta business brokers have closed hundreds of transactions, and the companies they have sold range in size from $100,000 to $50 million in revenue and span all industries. Sunbelt Atlanta is the largest firm in the southeastern United States, in business here in Atlanta for 25 years, and is a part of the Sunbelt Network. Sunbelt Business Brokers of Atlanta has helped hundreds of business owners in Georgia get the most value from the sale of their business. Sunbelt Atlanta Business Brokers are a full-service company when it comes time to sell or buy a business with zero upfront fees. Discover the Sunbelt Atlanta difference and contact them today at 770-936-9099. That's 770-936-9099. Or go to their website at www.sunbeltatlanta.com.
Welcome back to Ask the Experts, brought to you by Custom Comfort Cooling and Heating. Now back to your host, Steve O.
Yes, we are back. We are here with Doreen Morgan. She is head of Sunbelt Business Brokers Atlanta. They deal in just the sellers, not the buyers. And I got to tell you, our show is on every Wednesday from 9 to 10 because of your letters, your emails. I don't know if we do letters anymore. We do emails. We are adding another hour to the show. We are going to be on every Wednesday from 9 to 11. And from 10 to 11, we're going to actually deal with home improvement businesses. That's what you wanted, and that's what we're going to provide you. We just got a text from a listener. Doreen, this has got to be a cousin or a relative of yours. They're saying how much they're enjoying the show. And Doreen, she took a step. She gives up her time every Wednesday at 9:30. But the listener wants to know, when do you know it's time to get out? When it's time to sell?
Well, the best time to sell your company, there are a few best times. One, of course, is if you're ready to retire. And if you're a lower middle market company, then, there are a few different best times to sell. The other best time to sell really is 3 years before you're ready to retire, because oftentimes with a larger company, or if you are dealing in the construction industry with municipalities or large commercial contractors where you're bidding work, and you've got long-term, 3 or 5 or 10-year contracts, so the buyer is going to want you to stay on for, typically anywhere between 6 months and 18 months. So if your plan is to retire in 3 years, sometimes it can be better to go to market 3 years ahead of time and keep a little bit of the business, roll some equity over, keep it stay on for another 3 years, and oftentimes with the right buyer and a larger company with more capital, your 10 or 15% can be worth a significant amount when you are ready to retire. So you almost get to sell it twice. And then the other a great time to sell your business is when you're ready to grow. And again, it's the same scenario. If you're close to retirement and there's really high demand in your industry, and you could grow the company 20, 30, 40%, and which is the case right now with a lot of heavy construction companies, especially. You can, oftentimes if you're close to retirement, you really don't want to spend the capital. You don't want to put capital into growth. You're putting capital into yourself, and that can be a good time to sell a majority interest in the company and keep a percentage of it, use somebody else's money to grow, and then exit out. And then, of course, when you're ready to retire, you don't want to delay. Because as you get closer to retirement, it's just reality. You start to slow down, and you want to sell your business when it's trending up and not trending down.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got to tell people something that I learned, and Doreen, you'll probably laugh, but when I did finally do the right thing and hire a business broker, people, you've got to be patient. Oh my God, Doreen, I was calling up like 2 or 3 times a week. Have you sold my business? Have you sold it? And that's not the way it works. what I learned is that when you've got someone serious, I'm going to be the first person you're going to call. And you got to be patient because sometimes it could take, I mean, I don't want to put a amount of months or a year, but it takes time finding the right buyer. But when you have a business broker, it's not going to interrupt your business and things that you have to do. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. And with Sunbelt Atlanta, we close between 1 and 2 transactions a month, and
Oh,
we've been doing it for a very long time. So we've got a very well developed, streamlined process. And typically with us and our process, from the time we launch the company to market until you're sitting at a closing table, is between 5 and 7 months. And, on our website, we've got case study after case study there. On our closed transactions, there are little tombstones, is what they're called in our industry. You click on those, and on the back of it, it will tell you, when we went to market, how long it was on the market before closing, how many offers we had come in on the business. So, our track record is proven, it's successful, and we don't launch something to market and then wait for the buyer to find us. We put together a very targeted approach. We subscribe to very powerful data resources, so we can see what companies in the industry, who's making acquisitions, how much they're paying for their acquisitions. We can get directly to the owners of these companies or their acquisition people. That's a target list. That target list could be, we start with, the most obvious, and then we branch out to who serves them. So we like to have between, 50 and 250, depending on the space, strategic buyers that would benefit the most from owning your company. We do research into them so that when we approach them, we can share a little bit about why we think it would be a good fit. And then in addition to that group, we have been in business for, 25 years, 25 years now, 25, I guess. And so we've got a very robust database of private equity firms, family offices, holding companies. That list is close to 6,000 now. And then we have our financial buyer database, and that's an active buyer database right now. And these are people that come in through our website, is close to 2,000. And we consider an active financial buyer someone that has inquired on a business with us in the past 12 months, has signed NDAs, sent us their financials and resumes. So when we go to market, we are actively pursuing we're sending it out to between 6,000 and 8,000 people. And that's before it's ever even launched on a public business for sale site, which of course we list on all the public business for sale sites. So we could send out between 10 and 50 NDAs in the first 5 days that we're in the market, depending on the company. Sometimes it's more than that. So we take a really active approach, and that's how we shorten that time frame.
I've only got about a minute left. I wanted to add, we just got another question in. If a person retains you to sell their business, are there upfront fees?
No, we do not charge any upfront fees at all. We sit on the same side of the table with the seller until it closes. We don't charge any fees to do an opinion of value. We charge no fees at all. And one of the first steps in our process is to do an opinion of value, because we have to do that. And we feel like we do that complimentary, because we can't know if we can help you until we get a good look at your company. And you can't know if you're ready to sell until you know what it's going to sell for. So no upfront fees at all.
Doreen, I just gotta say, reiterate this. I love the way you do business. You're one of now you are our most popular show on Ask the Experts based on listenership. Doreen's going to be back with us next week. I literally had hundreds of questions regarding the construction industry, and maybe I can get you to continue on with this next week on your show at 9:30 next week. We'll see, because there's so many questions when it comes to the construction industry. Let's give everybody your phone number one more time.
It's 770-936-9099. And yeah, I'd love to continue this next week, because the construction, that's my favorite, one of my favorite industries. I do a lot in this space.
I couldn't tell, Doreen. I couldn't tell.
And they are, there are nuances to this industry that you don't see in every business. So, it's an important topic. How they're valued, especially, what buyers look for. Lots to share.
Good. Thank you, Doreen. Doreen's with Sunbelt Business Brokers Atlanta. Just an incredible company. We're going to be back with you again next week. And again, starting in August, we go to 2 hours. Again, thanks, Doreen. And we will see you, Doreen, next week at 9:30 with Ask the Experts. Everybody have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Thanks, Doreen.
You have been listening to the Ask the Expert show, brought to you by the top air conditioning and heating company in the Atlanta area, Custom Comfort Cooling and Heating. If you need service on your air conditioner or heating system, call them at 678-878-1313. Join us again next Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. for more Ask the Experts with Atlanta's leading experts in legal, health, financial, and home improvement.